Fifth grade lesson 7.5 is compare fraction factors and products. So reminder, the factors are the two numbers that you multiply together to get a product or an answer. 2 times 3 is 6. These are the factors, two of the factors that make 6, and 6 is the product. So a quick reminder on that. We're going to be looking at factors that are fractions. Some are fractions, some are not, but we're going to be looking at factors that are fractions. And this lesson is going to help us make a comparison to when we multiply a fraction times a whole number, a fraction times 1, and a fraction times a fraction. What would we expect to see? Something larger, smaller, or at the same? And it's going to give us some visuals, which will be helpful to you later. Our essential question is, how does the size of the product compare to the size of one factor when we multiply these fractions together? So let's unlock the problem. Let's see what they're trying to show us. Multiplication can be thought of as resizing one number by another number, or adding repeatedly. Normally with multiplication in a whole number sense, we end up with a much larger number because we're adding the same number over and over and over again. And so, for example, 2 times 3 will result in a product that is 2 times as great as 3. 2 added to itself 3 times, or 3 added to itself 2 times. We know we're going to get a larger number. But what happens to the size of the product when a number is multiplied by a fraction rather than a whole number? Does it stay, is it equal? Is it less? Is it more? What happens? So we're going to take a look at all of those scenarios. So one way to visualize this is to use a model. Let's have a look at the model they're talking about. They're eating cereal. That is one of my favorite foods, especially Lucky Charms. That's my favorite. During the week, the Delgado family ate 3/4 of a box of Lucky Charms. They want us to shade what 3/4 of the box is like. So here's our whole box, and thankfully for us, they cut it up into fourths. So I'm just going to go ahead and shade 3/4 of that. 1/4, 2/44, 3/4. There's 3/4 shaded. Now they want me to write an expression for 3/4 of one box of cereal, of being a multiply type of word. So 3/4 times 1. And anything times 1 is itself, right? So if I have one box and I shade 3/4 of it, how much of a box do I have? I have 3/4 of a box. So will the product of 3/4 times 1 be equal to 3/4, greater than 3/4, or less than 3/4? It's going to be equal to 3/4. So at least that part of multiplication doesn't change for you. You have learned the identity property of multiplication, that anything times 1 becomes itself, stays himself. He keeps his own identity. And that is the same for if one of your factors is a fraction. Same still, so identity property still there. It's the equal number to the factor of 3/4. Identity property multiplication. All right then, okay, what if I have a whole number multiplied by my fraction? Let's see what happens. The Ling family has 4 boxes of cereal, 1, 2, 3, 4. They ate 3/4 of all the cereal during the week. So out of all the 4 boxes, they ate 3/4 of them. 3 out of the 4. So if there are 4 boxes here, whoopsie, I didn't mean to do that pen. Sorry. If there are 4 boxes here, they ate 3 of them. I'm going to shade those in. 1 box, 2 box, 3 box is how much they ate. 3 out of the 4 boxes. 3 out of the 4. Write an expression for 3/4 of 4 boxes of cereal. 3/4 of 4 boxes of cereal. How much was that? That was 3 whole boxes. And if we did that calculation, 3/4 times 4 is going to be 12/4. And of course, 12 divided by 4 equals 3, right? So there you are, 3 boxes. Will the product be equal to, greater than, or less than 4? Our product was 3 when our factor was 4, and 3 is less than 4. So it will be less than. So if we multiply a fraction by a whole number, the answer, the product, is going to be less than the whole number. Okay, so let's look at item C. The Carter family has only 1/2 of a box of cereal at the beginning of the week. and they ate 3/4 of the 1/2 box of cereal. So we had half, and then they ate 3/4 of that. So we're doing a fraction of a fraction. So we've already cut it into a fraction, and now we're going to cut it even more. So shade the model to show 3/4 of 1/2 box of cereal. So let's start by shading the amount that they had. They had half a box of cereal. So I'm going to start by shading in half the box of cereal, right there. Half the box of cereal, if this is the whole box of cereal. There's half of it. Somebody ate half of it. And then we're going to do 3/4 of that. So it's split into 4 equal pieces, thankfully, so that makes it easy for me. And I want to do 3/4 of that. 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So now I have even less than half a box. But I need to set that up in a fraction of how many total pieces were there originally split apart. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 were the total split apart. And of those 8, how many are still left? If I have 3/4 of the half, it's 1, 2, 3, 3/8. And look at how that's less than it was before. We're used to multiplying being a bigger number, and this is now multiplying is giving me something less. So it's something we have to adjust, adapt to. 3/4 times 1/2 equals 3/8. So when I multiply a fraction times a fraction, if my fractions are both factors, my factors are both fractions, let me get that right, then my product is going to be less than my factors. So will the product be equal to, greater than, or less than 1/2? Well, there was 1/2, right? And it was less than that. So less than the factor 1/2. Another way to do this is using a number line, and maybe that will make sense to some of you. Maybe the picture of the cereal boxes wasn't working, but maybe the number line will. So you can use a diagram to show the relationship between the products when a fraction is multiplied or scaled or resized by a number. These are words that will come into play for you later, and these are all multiplied is really what they mean. They want to graph a point to show 3/4 scaled by 1, 3/4 scaled by 1/2, 3/4 scaled by 4. What they mean is 3/4 multiplied by 1, 3/4 multiplied by 1/2, or 3/4 multiplied by 4. And so they're just introducing to you that scaled means that you would multiply by a number. 1 times 3/4, remember I had mentioned earlier the identity property of multiplication means that when you multiply a number by 1, it doesn't change that number. So we should land right on 3/4. I'm counting by 3/4 just the one time. So that's going to put me, if 3/4 is between 0 and 1, right? And it's broken into 4 equal pieces, 1, 2, 3 of those pieces, which is right here. So 1 times 3/4 gives me 1, 2, 3 out of the 4 pieces between 0 and 1. What about 1/2 times 3/4? Well, 1/2 falls between 0 and 1 also. So we have here between 0 and 1, 1/2 would be 1 out of 2 broken pieces. If we broke it here, we'd have 1 piece and 2 piece. That would be 1/2 right here. And then if I were to break that into 4 equal pieces, because I get to use 3/4 of that, I'm going to put a little hash mark there and a hash mark there. That's broken into 4 equal pieces, and I get to use 3 of those. I'll go a different color green. 1, 2, 3 of those. 1/2 times 3/4 is right here. And finally, 4 times 3/4. So I'm doing 3/4 4 times. Notice these are already from 0 here. These are already broken into 4 equal pieces. So I'm going to do 3 4 times. 3 of those 4 pieces 4 times. So I have 1, 2, 3/4 here. That's 1. 1, 2, 3/4 here. That's 2. 1, 2, 3/4 here. That's 3. And 1, 2, 3/4 here. That's 4. So 4 times 3/4 ends up right here. 1/2 times 3/4 ends up right there at the green, and 1 times 3/4 ends up right there. And now we can use these models To complete these statements, complete each statement with equal to, greater than, or less than, and explain your choices. The product of 1 and 3/4 will be what compared to 3/4? Well, here it is. 1 times 3/4 ended up being equal. It ended up being exactly 3 out of 4, right? 3/4 right here between 0 and 4, cut into 4 pieces. We've crossed over 3 of those 4. So equal to 3/4. Because we know the multiplication, not multiplication, identity property, identity property of multiplication. Let's look at the next one. The product of the number less than 1 and 3/4. So less than 1 meaning it's going to be a fraction times a fraction will be what? Well, when we had 1/2 times 3/4, 1/2 is less than 1, right? It's a fraction. We ended up with something that was less than, equal to, or more than 3/4. Well, 3/4 would be right here, right between 0 and 1. If it's split into 4 equal pieces and we cross over 3 of them, there's 3/4. And we ended up with this green one when we did 1/2 times 3/4. So we ended up with a location that was less than 3/4, less than 3/4. And it was it less than, equal to, or more than the other factor? Well, half is the other factor, and half was right here on this red between 0 and 1 halfway. And the factor, or the product, ended up being even less than that. So it's also less than the other factor. It's less than both factors. The product will be less than both factors. So we cut it, and then we cut it some more with the multiplication of the two fractions. And then when we have the product of a number greater than 1, like we did here, and multiplied by the fraction 3/4, it would be less than, equal to, or greater than 3/4. Well, 3/4 was right here, and our product ended up being way over here. So it was greater than 3/4. But was it greater than, less than, or equal to the other factor, the whole number? Here's 4. This is the whole number that we, as our factor, and here's 4, but our product was less than the whole number. So it's less than the other factor. So if I am doing 1 times fraction, I'm going to get that fraction. If I'm doing fraction times fraction, it will be less, the product will be less than both fractions. And if I do whole number times fraction, my product will be less than the whole, but more than the fraction. And that's really what they're trying to help you see, because that helps you with reasonableness of an answer. When you get an answer at something, a problem that you've solved, and you look at it, hopefully you can recognize, because of this, that, oh, wait, that doesn't seem right. Sometimes that happens, and we have to be able to notice it instead of just going on and having the wrong answer and not knowing. So this is kind of the what they're trying to get us to see. When we did 1 times the fraction, it was a fraction, identity property of multiplication. Fraction times a fraction, our answer came out less than both of those factors. Whole number times a fraction, our product came out less than the whole number, but more than the fraction. The fraction 3/4 is here, so it's more than the factor that's the fraction, but less than the factor that's the whole number. So that's the whole thing that we were after on this. Let's practice a few. And I kept this page over here and just shrunk it down because this piece of information that we explored will be helpful to us as we're working through these. Complete the statement with equal to, greater than, or less than. 4 times 7/8 will be what in compared to 7/8? This was the whole number times the fraction. Whole number times the fraction. Our product is going to be less than the whole number. It will be less than 4, but it will be more than the fraction. It's going to be more than 7/8. And we can put more than here, but let's take that visual just to make sure that that is in fact what we get, and make sure our brains are seeing this completely. We have 4 times 7/8. Well, 7/8 is between 0 and 1. broken into 8 equal pieces, and we cross over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, 7/8. We're going to do that amount 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We end up at 3 and how many eighths? 1, 2, 3, 4 eighths. 4/8, also known, oh, what color? I didn't mean to change the color, sorry. Also known as 1/2, right? 4 is half of 8, so the equivalent is 1/2. 3 and 1/2 is the answer we get. So is 3 and 1/2 more than 7/8? Yeah, 7/8 is less than 1. And this is 3 and some more, right? So our answer came out more than that. It's not quite 4. We knew it wouldn't because of this, but it is more than 7/8. Okay, what about 3/5 times 2/7? That is a fraction times a fraction. Fraction times a fraction. Our product is going to come out being less than both. So it will be less than that factor 3/5. Less than. And 5/8 times 6, this is a fraction as the factor. This is a whole number as a factor. It will be what compared to the fraction 5/8, that factor. Whole number times a fraction. Whole number times a fraction. The product will be less than the whole number, but more than the fraction. This is the fraction we're looking at, so it's going to be more than. You see how helpful this piece of information you discovered is in answering these sorts of questions. And again, this helps you just with reasonableness later as your brain adapts to this. Then if you're solving a problem later, you can kind of go, wait, that doesn't sound right if you end up getting it wrong, which happens to me sometimes. I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to let you go on your own, and hopefully you're feeling like you get it. In fact, I'm going to let you pause the video, try this one. I might do 2 with you, but only if you promise to pause the video, try it, and then push play to check it. All right, we have 4/9 times 3/8. That is a fraction times a fraction. Fraction times a fraction. My product will be less than both. So what will it be? The product it be compared to 3/8, which was one of the factors? It will be less than. Did you get that? Good job. If not, that's okay. When we're learning, we make mistakes. 7 times 9/10. This is a whole number times a fraction, and we're comparing it to the fraction. Whole number times a fraction will be less than the whole number, but it will be more than the fraction. The product will be more than the fraction, and this is the fraction factor we're looking at. So it's going to be more than that. Okay. Okay, I think you're ready. If you did not write this down in your book, you might want to, because you're probably finding out that that's handy to have. Find a place to write that down in your book or in your notes, and then go get it. I think you've got this.